Hello, in this video, you will learn what 3-letter city code you need to use for your Casio G-Shock time zone for the whole United States. Starting with Alabama, the state is using 2 different time zones. For Birmingham, Montgomery, Huntsville and surrounding areas, use Chicago CHI. For Phoenix City, use Miami MIA or New York NYC. For Alaska, the state also uses 2 different time zones. For Anchorage, Juneau and surrounding areas, use code Anchorage ANC. For St. Lawrence Island, St. Paul and St. George Islands, use Honolulu HNL. Next, for the state of Arizona, for Phoenix, Tucson, Mesa etc., use Denver DEN. For Topac, use Los Angeles LAX. DST should be off all the time for Arizona, except for Navajo Nation. If you are in Arkansas, use Chicago CHI, that is Central Time Zone. DST should be turned on when observed. For the state of California, use Los Angeles LAX. DST should be on when observed, that is from mid-March to early November each year. For Colorado, use Denver DEN. For Connecticut, use Miami MIA or New York NYC. For the state of Delaware, use Miami MIA or New York NYC. For Florida, use Miami MIA or New York NYC for most of Florida, except for the western cities of Pensacola, Panama City etc., use Chicago CHI. For Georgia, use Miami MIA or New York NYC. For Hawaii, use city code Honolulu HNL. DST should be always off for Hawaii. Idaho, use 2 time zones, use city code Denver DEN for Boise, Meridian, Nampa and surrounding areas. And use Los Angeles LAX for northwestern cities of Coeur d'Alene and Lewiston. For Illinois, use Chicago CHI. For Indiana, depending on your city, you need to use either Miami MIA for Indianapolis and Fort Wayne, or use Chicago CHI for Evansville and Hammond. For the state of Iowa, use Chicago CHI. For Kansas, you need to choose between city code Chicago and Denver. Chicago CHI for most of Kansas including Wichita and Kansas City, and Denver DEN for 4 counties namely Sherman, Wallace, Greeley and Hamilton. For Kentucky, use Miami MIA or New York NYC for eastern cities of Louisville and Lexington. And use Chicago CHI for Bowling Green and Owensboro. Louisiana uses Chicago CHI city code. For state of Maine, use Miami MIA or New York City NYC. For Maryland, use Miami MIA or New York City NYC. For the state of Massachusetts, again use either Miami MIA or New York NYC, depending which is available on your watch. For Michigan, use Miami MIA or New York NYC for most of the state except for the following 4 counties bordering Wisconsin, that are Gogebic, Iron, Dickinson and Menominee. You will need to use Chicago CHI for those. Next, for Minnesota, use Chicago CHI for the whole state. For Mississippi, also use Central Time, that is find the code Chicago CHI on your watch. For the state of Missouri, use Chicago CHI. Next, the state of Montana uses Mountain Time. Find Denver DEN on your watch. For Nebraska, you will need to choose between 2 different codes, depending if you are in eastern or western Nebraska. For eastern Nebraska including cities of Omaha and Lincoln, use Chicago CHI, and for western counties of Sheridan and Garden, use Denver DEN code. Nevada uses Pacific Time, use code Los Angeles LAX on your watch. For the state of New Hampshire, use Eastern Time Zone, that is either Miami MIA or New York NYC. For New Jersey, use code Miami MIA or New York NYC, depending which one is available to choose on your watch. Next, for New Mexico, use Denver DEN for all counties in the state. For New York, use New York City time zone code NYC. In case it is not available on your watch, you can then pick Miami MIA. North Carolina uses Eastern time zone, that is, either Miami MIA or New York NYC.
For the state of North Dakota, use Chicago CHI for Fargo, Bismarck and surrounding areas, except for the southwestern cities of Bowman, Hettinger and surroundings, use Denver DEN code. For Ohio, use Miami MIA or New York NYC code. For Oklahoma, the state uses Central Time. Find time zone code CHI on your watch. For Oregon, most of the state uses Pacific Time. Look for code Los Angeles LAX on your watch. Except for the north part of County Malheur, you will need to choose Denver DEN. For the state of Pennsylvania, use Miami code MIA or New York City code NYC, that is for Eastern Time Zone. For Rhode Island, use Miami MIA or New York City NYC. For South Carolina, you will need to pick either Miami MIA or New York NYC on your watch. For South Dakota, you will need to choose between two time zones depending on where exactly you are. If you are in the eastern South Dakota close to Sioux Falls, use Chicago CHI. If you are in the western part including Rapid City, use Denver DEN. For Tennessee, you will need to select Miami MIA or New York NYC if you are in the east, including City of Knoxville. For West Tennessee, use Chicago CHI, which includes cities of Memphis and Nashville. Texas uses Central Time Zone for most counties, which is the code Chicago CHI, except for two counties, namely El Paso and Hudspeth. For these two, you will need to choose Denver DEN. Next, for Utah, use code Denver DEN. For the state of Vermont, use either Miami MIA or New York City NYC, which correspond to Eastern Time Zone. If you live in Virginia as well, you are on Eastern Time Zone. That is, you need to pick either Miami MIA or New York NYC. For the state of Washington, use Los Angeles LAX. If you are in the capital of the United States, Washington, D.C., you will need to use Miami MIA or New York NYC code. For West Virginia, use Miami MIA or New York City code NYC as city code. Wisconsin is on Central Time. Use code Chicago CHI, irrespective wherever you are in the state. Finally, for the state of Wyoming, use code Denver DEN for the whole state. I have also included the 5 major U.S. territories. For American Samoa, use code Pago Pago PPG. DST should be off all the time. For Guam and the Northern Mariana Islands, use Guam GUM. DST should be always off. For Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands, use Santiago SCL or Halifax YHZ code. DST should be turned on only from 2nd Sunday of March to the 1st Sunday in November, for all states except for Hawaii, Arizona, not including the Navajo Nation, and the 5 main U.S. territories mentioned above. If you still have trouble finding which one you need to choose, please leave a comment below and I will guide you. Finding the city code that corresponds to your city or time zone does not mean the time will be adjusted correctly on your watch, although most of the time, it will. Here are how to set the hands on your G-Shock watch, and how to set the time manually after you have chosen your 3 letters time zone code for your region or state. Thank you for watching.